many of you in the place in which you dwell, how many of you have walls in your house? You have walls? A lot of you? Most of you? You got walls? Now, how many of you have stuff? Paintings, pictures? You put stuff on those walls. You put stuff on the walls. How many of you? A good many of you. Now, why? You know those walls don't need anything put on them. They function 100% just like they're supposed to without you putting anything on those walls. What do you put on your walls? What are you doing? Somebody tell me. What are you putting on your walls?
A clock.
You've got a clock. Okay. Well, that's functional. That's good. What?
Pictures.
Pictures of what?
Beautiful things.
Beautiful things? Why? What? It makes you happy. Oh dear. How many of you have paintings on your wall? Oh my goodness. All of you. This is just amazing. How many of you know that Joy Beatty, and her entire life is about painting things that go on your wall? She spends her whole life doing this. Can you believe that? My goodness. Now, how many of you have ever been to a place like this with a whole bunch of stuff on the wall? What do you call places like this? You know what this is?
Art gallery.
An art gallery. Now, don't they know those walls are fine without the stuff on them? Now, let me ask you another question. How many of you care about the color of your walls? A lot of you seem to care. Why? The walls will stay there. Doesn't matter what color they are. Why do you care about the color? Why?
Oh, makes me happy. Makes me happy.
It makes more of this happiness stuff. Now, you guys are very strange. Now, how many of you, when you go looking for clothes, the color of the clothes also is important to you?
All the time. All the time.
Oh my goodness. You don't just close your eyes and get the right size and that's it?
Men.
Okay, maybe not. I ran into that. Now, how many of you listen to music? Boy, a lot of you seem to do that. You know what? You don't have to. You could go your whole life and listen to no music and you wouldn't die. Music is, from a utilitarian perspective, completely worthless. You don't have to have it in order to stay alive. It's not like food, or is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh. Music is like food.
Yes.
You
Soul.
Feed your soul.
It feeds your soul. Well, that's interesting. You guys do some strange things. Putting all this stuff on your walls, listening to music. Interesting. God has put into the heart of every person that has ever lived longing for beauty. Everyone longs for beauty, whether the beauty comes through a book or a movie or stuff on your walls or music that you listen to. We are all searching for more beauty. I bet if I were to ask you how many of you only have one thing on your wall, you would say, no, are you crazy? You've got a lot of stuff on your wall because you want more beauty in your life. This is a reflection of how all of us are shaped in the deep part of our soul to want and desire beauty in our lives. The oldest art in the world is found in the Lascaux caves in France. They did not live in the caves in which they painted all these things. They took candles and went into pitch black darkness and painted stuff on the walls. Now back then, you couldn't go to the supermarket to get dinner. You had to go kill dinner. And yet they still made time to go to the cave and paint. Can you just imagine someone way back then, honey? I'm going to the cave to paint. How about going to kill dinner first, dear? But no, the longing for beauty was so much that they spent hours and days painting on pitch black walls that they didn't even live in. Because God has shaped us for a longing for beauty. What is it? What is this thing called beauty? How could we possibly define it? A harmony of form, symmetry, perfect proportions, goodness and truth, pleasing to the senses. Now, is beauty only out there, or is it only in our heads? Is it subjective, only in our heads, or is beauty out there? It's objective. It's something that is everyone can agree on. Up until the 1700s, Christian theology was pretty clear on the big three, what they called transcendentals, things that transcended our earth into heaven. Goodness, truth, and beauty. But in the 1700s, beauty got cut off because it was thought to be only subjective. Beauty is only in the eye of the beholder. And it got cut off from Christian theology. But beauty is something the Bible talks about. Now, what is the source of beauty? Where does it come from?
Our Creator.
Right? Beauty is God Himself. God is the most beautiful, amazing thing. Beauty emanates from Him. We usually call it His glory, sometimes His splendor. And nature reflects the beauty of God. Art is a dim reflection of the beauty of God. Music is an echo of the beauty of God that we want more of in our life. Same with architecture. Think of the medieval cathedrals dotting all over. C.S. Lewis puts it like this: the books or the music in which we thought the beauty was located. And he's saying this is wrong. The beauty isn't actually like inside the molecules. It's not in the airwaves when it comes out of your car into your ear. You can't grab beauty. The books or the music in which we thought the beauty was located will betray us if we trust in them. Beauty, was not in the art on our walls or the music. It was not in the architecture. It only came through them. And what came through them was this ache, this yearning, this longing. These things, art, books, music, these are good images of what we really desire, but they are not the thing itself. They are only the scent of a flower we have not yet found, the echo of a tune we have never heard, news from a country we have never yet visited. So when you're listening to music, what C.S. Lewis is saying is, your favorite song is an echo of a tune that's playing in heaven that you have yet to hear. There's a famous song that begins, "He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before." Rocky Mountain High, right? John Denver. He was born in the summer of his 27th year. John Denver's son, his baby boy, coming home to a place he'd never been before. Home, for a baby, is a place you've never been. You've only been in the hospital. Right? So when you come home, it's for the first time. When we all get home to heaven, it'll be a place we've never been before. But the echoes of the music will finally be there. The echoes of the beauty that we saw in the music, in the books, in the architecture, on the faces of the people, will go, oh, this is the source. We have found the source of all beauty. Psalm 27:4 says it like this: "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek Him in His temple." Why do you keep coming back every Sunday? Why do you keep sitting in those pews every Sunday? Ultimately, foundationally, when we dig down to the deep roots of it, you are hoping to hear an echo of the beauty of home. That is heaven, all of which emanates from God's essence. This is the goal of life, to be close to the source of all beauty. In 988 AD, the Russian Tsar needed to get some social glue for his country, and very utilitarian, maybe not for necessarily the greatest of reasons, but he sent his emissaries out into the world because he felt like his country needed a new religion. He wanted to unite his people under a new religion. And his emissaries came to Constantinople, what we call Istanbul today, in 988 AD. They came to this place. Who knows the name of it? That's pretty good. That's right. It's the Hagia Sophia, built in 566 by the Emperor Justinian. The most beautiful Christian cathedral at the time in the entire world. And here's what those emissaries wrote once they saw the inside. "We knew not whether we were in heaven or on earth, for on earth there was no such splendor or such beauty. And we are at a loss of how to describe it. We only know that God dwells there among men. We cannot forget that beauty." And Russia became Christian to this day. A pastor writes in his book about how he was in Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris within the last 10 years or so. And as he came out of the grandeur of that beautiful cathedral, and nearby is a subway, and he sat down, and he could tell he was sitting next to a man who had just been in Notre Dame with him. And he struck up a conversation. "Where are you from?" Figuring he was visiting, and he was. And eventually the man asked him, "What do you do for work?" He said, "I'm a pastor." And he said, "That's interesting." And the pastor asked him, "Do you believe in God?" And the man said, "Well, before I went into that cathedral just now, I did not believe in God. But now I think I do." Because he had seen beauty that he recognized was transcendent, that was beyond this world. What is the most beautiful thing you have ever experienced in your life? What's the most beautiful thing you've ever experienced? Cynthia?
It would be between seeing the Pietà and the Sistine Chapel.
So, Michelangelo.
And the Statue of David, I have to admit.
Okay.
The Statue of David just,
Yes.
there's no words.
Okay. So, Pietà is a statue of Mary holding Jesus right after he dies on the cross. It's there in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Yes, incredibly beautiful.
Well, two completely separate things, but the beautiful earth, like in Glacier National Park, or the Alps,
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
and also witnessing my sister go into the arms of Jesus.
She said Glacier National Park in Montana, and then witnessing her sister go into the arms of Jesus. Bernie.
Going out on the Sea of Galilee, no one Israel.
Oh, yeah.
So serene.
Sure. She said when she went out onto the Sea of Galilee on a Holy Land trip there in northern Israel, where Jesus, of course, famously walked on the water. And I'm sure you thought about that in that moment. And of course, to plug our trip, we're going in 2024, right? To Israel. We'll be on that Sea of Galilee as well. Our next meeting will be in October, just FYI. Yes?
I happened to be with Andrea when her son passed,
Mm.
and the pastor that was there just said, just imagine, Chris, as soon as you cross over, you're going to get up out of that wheelchair and run. He was a quadriplegic. And he took a deep breath and left this world, and I could just envision him running towards God.
Mm. As this friend of Nancy's was,
This friend right here,
Chris was a quadriplegic.
oh,
her son.
your son. Oh, the story is very close. So Nancy's relaying, since you couldn't hear, Chris's son passed. The pastor said,
Andrea, son
Andrea's
Chris.
right, Andrea's son Chris. He was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he was a
And the
quadriplegic.
pastor said, just imagine in a few moments you'll be able to run into the arms of Jesus. Our longing for beauty are like crumbs on a trail meant to lead us back to God. Perhaps you'll recall the fable, the fairy tale, Hansel and Gretel, and they left breadcrumbs on the trail so they can find their way back home. And that's what beauty is like. The more you find of it, the point of it, the meaning behind the beauty is meant to be one more breadcrumb to get us closer to the source of beauty, God Himself. Plato, one of the two greatest philosophers who has ever lived, said, only in the contemplation of beauty is life worth living. And you know what you do every Sunday when you come to church? You contemplate beauty. That is God. Plato, interestingly, and I think worthwhile, pointed out there's 4 different kinds of beauty. The lowest form of beauty is imitation of beauty. That is copies of beauty. That is the stuff you put on your walls. Right? It's a low form of beauty in that they're copies of beauty. If you have a picture of your wedding, you are not on your wall right now. Right? That's obviously a copy of you, a picture of you, an imitation of you. And so if you have a painting of the Alps or whatever it might be on your walls, obviously that's an imitation, a copy. Third form of beauty, a little higher, would be the thing itself, the object of beauty. The mountain itself is more beautiful than a copy or a painting of the mountain. And then a higher form of beauty is what we do every Sunday, contemplate beauty. We want more of the beauty in our life. And then this is from Plato, philosopher. He said the highest form of beauty is to gaze upon pure beauty. And what does David want in Psalm 27:4? To gaze upon the beauty of the Lord. And he says, this is the only thing I ask of you, Isn't that interesting? Sure sounds pretty darn similar. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord. Really, when you're looking around at the faces near you, or when you go on that hike or that dream vacation, really, you know, your eye is like a camera, and every second you're taking pictures. And all of nature is an imitation or a copy of real beauty. That is the source of all beauty. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says, and we all with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, beholding as a way of becoming, gazing on beauty as a way of becoming like beauty. The glory of God, this is how I phrase it, the glory of God, think of the transfiguration. Jesus is light just opening up to his disciples. Or Moses coming down after he receives the Ten Commandments. The glory of the Lord is said to have shone upon his face. The glory of God is the beauty of God when it goes on public display. So that nature then is the glory of God. The heavens declare the glory of God, Psalm 19:1. And that is the beauty of God on public display. C.S. Lewis again, hard to get away from him. We do not merely want to see beauty. We want something else which can hardly be put into words, to be united with the beauty we see. First chapter of the Bible, God saw all that he had made and it was very good. The Hebrew word is tov, T-O-V. Can be translated good, can also be translated beautiful. God saw all he had made and it was tov. It was beautiful. St. Augustine, by common consent, who lived in the late 300s, some 1,600 years ago. He has a whole poem on the beauty of Christ. Christ then is beautiful in heaven, beautiful on earth, beautiful in the womb, beautiful in his parents' arms, beautiful in his miracles, beautiful. Christ is beautiful is the point. 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Someday, brothers and sisters, we'll be able to say, oh, the source of all beauty, we have finally arrived. There's nowhere else to go. There are no other songs to sing that will help us get closer to the source of beauty. We are now in God's presence. One of the old terms for the Christian life was the beatific vision. Having a vision of the beauty of God in nature, music, on the faces of people created in the image of God.